10 days before his wedding, my son called and said,
"Don't come. You're paralyzed, and I'm ashamed of it. My in-laws, my business friends, I'm just not comfortable with you there."
So I packed my bags, rewrote my will, and left everything I ever built to my daughter. So, it started when I was 72, when my body stopped cooperating. One stroke, and suddenly I needed help for everything. Eating, dressing, getting to the bathroom, staying alive, but I never lost my mind. That's what everyone forgets. You slur a word, or your hands don't work right, and people look at you like you're half there. I was fully there. Every meeting, every transaction, every decision, I just made them slower. My daughter Claire moved in right after the hospital. She didn't make a speech about it. She just showed up with 2 suitcases and a bottle of generic shampoo and said, "I'll sleep in the den." She started helping with the feeding tube, the bed changes, the laundry, the bookkeeping. She never talked about her divorce. I never asked. We both had bigger things to survive. My son Ethan visited twice that first month, brought flowers, a wide Bluetooth speaker, then disappeared into his office again. He ran one of the logistics branches I owned, called it his company, like I hadn't spent 20 years building it from one semi and a leased warehouse. I let it slide. My voice was too weak to argue anyway. Claire did the work. Ethan made the speeches. Claire wiped my mouth. Ethan took clients to golf. Claire gave me my dignity every day. Ethan gave me stock updates once a week and left out anything inconvenient. Don't forget to like this video, comment where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. I never told either of them, but every asset, every property, business, portfolio, line was still under my name. People assumed I'd already started passing things down. I hadn't. I was still watching. Ethan didn't see Claire at all. He called her the house ghost once on a Zoom call. Forgot he wasn't muted. I saw her blink when she heard it, but she didn't flinch. Just kept folding towels like it didn't land. Then came Vanessa. I knew her type before she opened. Her mouth, polished, thin, that kind of beauty that doesn't speak too loud. You don't learn that unless you've been trained for expensive rooms. She met Ethan at a fundraiser for a startup that doesn't exist anymore. Claire Googled her that night. Former model, degree from somewhere no one checks, a few charity photos, some sponsored posts, and a lot of outfits that look rich but don't belong to her. Her family used to have money. I could tell by her hands. She wore rings like someone used to being kissed on the knuckles. Ethan brought her to dinner the 3rd time they met. She smiled at Claire like she was staff, called me ma'am twice. Not once did she ask how I was doing. She just scanned the room like she was measuring it. Claire made soup. Vanessa barely touched hers, said she was gluten sensitive, and then drank 2 glasses of wine. Ethan told her I used to own 47 units downtown. She smiled. "Used to?" He laughed. "She still does." She looked at me like I was a dog who could speak Latin. After dessert, she leaned into Ethan and said, "You're going to be running it all soon, right?" I pretended not to hear, but I didn't forget. I watched her insert herself slowly after that. She started attending Ethan's board calls, said she was rebranding him. New suit cuts, new website, new tone. Suddenly, the word family stopped showing up in his investor decks. Claire noticed it first. "You realize Mom's not mentioned on the site anymore," she said one day, spooning soup into my mouth. I nodded. Ethan stopped asking Claire to drop off documents at the office. He hired a courier. Vanessa said it was more efficient. She also started decorating their condo like it was a showroom. All white furniture, no books, no history. One night, I overheard her say something through Ethan's phone. "Your mom's condition is delicate. It's not about her. It's about brand clarity." He didn't push back. That's when I knew. Ethan was smart, but he was the kind of smart that doesn't survive predators. Claire tried to say something once. Ethan shut her down. "You don't know what it takes to lead," he snapped. Claire didn't reply, but I saw her face as she rinsed a dish later. Her hands were shaking. I started preparing quietly, not out of fear, just instinct. I called my lawyer, checked every deed, every account, every clause, made no changes, just confirmed what was mine. Then, 10 days before the wedding, Ethan called me. No small talk. No warmth. I don't think you should come to the wedding. It's better for everyone. You in a wheelchair? It'll just make things weird. Vanessa agrees. He said it like he was rescheduling a lunch meeting. I didn't say a word. I clicked end call. Then I turned to Claire, who was sorting pill trays at the kitchen table. Pack what matters, I said. We're not staying here. She didn't ask why. She just stood up and walked to the bedroom. That night, while she packed, I stared at a photo on the wall. Me at 40, arms crossed in front of a half-built warehouse. I looked angry in that picture. Not because I was, but because no one takes you seriously if you smile. I remember that day. I had the flu. My foreman told me to go home. I told him to get back to work or find another job. That photo hung in my office for years. I took it with me when we left. Claire helped me into the van before sunrise. No one knew where we went. I didn't tell Ethan, didn't tell his secretary, didn't even tell my lawyer. We just left. That was the last morning I ever stepped foot in that house, and I didn't miss a single thing about it. The apartment was small but clean, with a wide hallway for the wheelchair and a kitchen that caught sunlight just right in the mornings. Claire unpacked like she was settling into war, one drawer at a time, labeling everything, stacking cans, folding my cardigans by color. She didn't cry once. She didn't ask questions either, even though I knew she had them. I spent the first 2 days on the phone with banks, title companies, and insurance reps. I didn't change anything, not yet. I just made sure I still had keys to every door. I didn't speak Ethan's name. I didn't say the word wedding. Claire didn't bring it up either. But on the 5th day, when she went to get the mail, she came back with a cream envelope tucked under her arm. She placed it on the table without a word. The invitation, gold embossed letters, RSVP enclosed. I stared at it while she made tea. Then I pushed it to the edge of the table with the side of my hand and let it fall into the trash can. That was my response. Ethan didn't call again. Neither did Vanessa. But I watched the photos roll out online. Vanessa in a dress that looked like it cost half a year's rent. Ethan in a suit I hadn't paid for. They stood under white archways, holding hands like they'd built something. Claire showed me a photo someone had tagged them in. Vanessa had written the caption, "A new chapter, a powerful beginning. No mention of family, no mention of me." That night, I asked Claire to bring me the lockbox. It was heavy and metal and full of every document that ever mattered. I kept it under the bed since before Ethan was born. Claire placed it in my lap. I couldn't grip the keys with both hands, so she unlocked it for me. I took out the folder labeled Succession. Claire sat across from me. She didn't speak. I pulled out the old draft of the will, the one where everything was split 70-30 between Ethan and Claire. That document had been untouched for years. I tore it in half. Claire didn't react. I looked at her and said, "I'm not doing this out of spite." She nodded. "I know." I handed her a pen and said, "You're the executor now. Start where it says ownership transfer." She took the pen without blinking. I dictated, slowly, clearly. The logistics companies, the real estate, the stocks, the condos, all of it. Not as revenge, as reality. I wasn't punishing Ethan. I was acknowledging the truth. Claire had done the work. She had stayed. She had taken nothing and given everything. There was no empire to inherit. There was just a job that needed doing. And she had done it. When the papers were signed, I felt something release in my chest. Not joy, not anger, just relief. Like the weight had shifted to the one who was already carrying it. We mailed the paperwork the next morning. I didn't call Ethan. I didn't warn him. If he wanted to marry someone who valued brand image over blood, he could learn how brands work when they crumble. A few days later, I got an email from one of our building managers. He said Ethan had tried to authorize a renovation request and been denied. His name wasn't on the property deed. He was confused, asked if it was a clerical error. I wrote, back myself. "No error. This property is under new oversight. Please direct all business to Claire Bennett, acting owner." I didn't get a reply. Claire got a call from a board member that night. Ethan had been blindsided in a meeting when he realized he no longer held voting rights on anything. He stormed out, said something about contacting lawyers. Claire didn't flinch. "He can't challenge anything," she said calmly. Followed procedure. She poured herself a glass of water and added, "You made sure everything was airtight." "He's got no legal standing." I nodded. Ethan thought power was permanent just because it was familiar, but I never gave him power. I just let him carry the illusion of it. The next morning, Claire listed the old house. The agent came by to take photos. I didn't go back. I didn't want to see Ethan's childhood bedroom or the dent in the stairwell where Claire fell carrying a box when she was 12. I didn't want to remember. That life was done. Claire took the photo off the wall, the one of me at the warehouse, and hung it in the new kitchen. It didn't match the cabinets or the appliances, but it belonged. When Vanessa posted a photo of the honeymoon suite in Bali, I didn't react. When she posted a quote about leaving behind what no longer serves you, I smiled for the first time in a week. She thought she was the one walking away, but I had already left. The next week, Claire had her first meeting as controlling owner. She wore a blazer she hadn't touched since her old job in HR. She didn't speak much, just listened. Let the men talk. Then, when the silence hit, she said, "Here's what we're changing." And she laid out a better plan than Ethan had made in 3 years. The CFO emailed me later. "She's the real deal." I wrote back one word. Exactly. That night, I was sitting in the living room when Claire walked in holding a glass of wine. She stood there a moment, looking at me. "Do you miss him?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "He made a choice. So did I." She nodded and went to bed. I stayed up watching the hallway, thinking of all the times I carried both kids alone. School pickups, scraped knees, birthday cakes I baked. Myself. You don't realize how much gets buried under years of silence. But when you finally stop waiting to be seen, you start seeing clearly. That's when I knew. Ethan had been gone long before he made that call. I just finally believed it. The house sold in 3 days. The realtor was shocked. She said homes like that usually sat longer on the market, but I knew better. Ethan had talked about the property on podcasts, called it a legacy site in 3 separate investor interviews. And Vanessa had posted photos from the living room back when she was still pretending to care about the family. They had created a digital footprint of value without even realizing it, and I let the market eat it up. Claire handled the logistics of the sale while I watched from the new apartment, tracking every wire transfer, every document, every signature. Nothing was left behind. Not one keepsake, not one frame, not even the monogrammed towels Ethan gave. Me for Christmas, the year he started calling himself a CEO. Claire listed them online. They sold for $40. That night, I rolled into the kitchen while Claire was updating spreadsheets and said, "Do you think he's noticed yet?" She didn't look up. Not until someone tells him no. It didn't take long. Ethan had booked a renovation team to start upgrades on the master bathroom. "Preparing for the next phase," he'd said to Vanessa in a voice note I wasn't supposed to hear. The contractor called the management office for confirmation, and Claire intercepted it. She told them plainly, "He's not the owner. The property's already sold. Please forward all records to our legal department." 2 hours later, Ethan texted her, "What's going on with the house?" Claire showed me the message but didn't reply. The next day, we got a notice that Ethan had attempted to transfer funds from the holding account linked to the logistics division. He was blocked. His credentials had been removed during the will update. He hadn't read the small print. I had never added him as a formal co-owner, just an acting manager under my license. Claire now held the controlling stake. The IT team flagged his login as unauthorized and locked him out. He called the CFO. The CFO called Claire. She called the lawyers. Everything held. No loopholes, no gaps. Ethan had never asked how things were structured. He just assumed they belonged to him because he wore the suit and gave the speeches. But he never built it. He never held the risk. Claire pulled out the tax files from 10 years ago, showed the paper trail of every expense, every emergency loan I took to float payroll, every loss we took before the first profit. Ethan had never seen those numbers. He'd come in after the hard years, smiled at ribbon cuttings, and posted the photos. Vanessa had told him to push for consolidation. That was her word. Her emails were full of suggestions about streamlining the brand, increasing his equity, cutting family overhead. That meant me. That meant Claire. That meant the people who made the thing real. The day after the house sale finalized, Ethan's card was declined at a business dinner. Vanessa paid. He didn't tell her what had happened, at least not then, but I could imagine the way his face tightened. He hated being embarrassed. Claire forwarded me a memo the next morning. Vanessa had contacted one of the senior marketing consultants, pretending to be a corporate officer. She had no title, no authority, and no access. The consultant didn't respond, just reported it straight to Claire. Vanessa tried again through a different channel. This time the email bounced. Her name was flagged. Claire had the IT team lock all external access and put Ethan's personal email on read only. No one called. No one argued. They just followed orders. The system didn't belong to Ethan anymore. That evening, I watched a video from one of our internal town halls. Claire had scheduled it with just 2 days' notice. She appeared on screen, wearing a navy blouse and no makeup. "I'm not going to pretend I'm my brother," she said plainly. "You won't see me at parties or in magazine spreads, but I know this company. I've known it since it was one truck and a warehouse that leaked every time it rained. My mother built this. I watched her do it. And I'm not letting it fall apart because someone wanted to look powerful instead of being useful." There was silence. Then someone off camera said, "We're with you." The chat filled with yeses. One line just said, "It's about time." I played that video 3 times. Then I forwarded it to my lawyer. "Keep this," I wrote. "It matters." Claire didn't want credit. She just wanted the thing to work. I could see the exhaustion on her face when she came home after meetings. She didn't complain. She just changed into sweatpants and made dinner while going over employee rosters. She asked for nothing. She didn't even want her name on the website yet. "Let them get used to me first," she said. Ethan, meanwhile, was unraveling. He started calling people, first investors, then friends, then old colleagues. One by one, they redirected him to Claire. Some ignored him altogether. He posted a photo on his social media of him sitting in front of a closed laptop with the caption, "New ventures ahead." I laughed. He hadn't launched anything new. He didn't have the capital. Vanessa smiled in the background of the photo like she'd just won. She didn't know yet. That's what made it beautiful. She thought she was climbing a ladder. She was already standing on air. Ethan texted me 2 days later, just one word. "Why?" I didn't respond. I didn't owe him an explanation. Everything I had done was legal, fair, and necessary. You don't hand a kingdom to someone who thinks it's owed to him. You hand it to the person who stayed behind to clean up the ruins. That was Claire. She never asked for it. She earned it anyway. And Ethan was about to learn what happens when you build your future on borrowed power and forget who actually owns the ground beneath your feet. He showed up 10 days after the wedding, standing outside the apartment building in a suit that no longer fit his shoulders right, sweating through the collar, unshaved, and alone. Claire saw him first through the peephole and didn't say a word. She just stood there with her hand on the knob, waiting. I heard his voice before I saw him. "Please," he said. "I just need to talk to her." Claire didn't open the door. "She's resting." He hesitated. "I need to see her. Vanessa's gone." I looked at Claire. I didn't nod. I didn't blink. But she understood. She turned the handle. Ethan stepped inside like a boy who'd forgotten how to stand up straight. His eyes scanned the room, pausing on the small kitchen table, the old photo of the warehouse on the wall, the feeding equipment in the corner. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't what he was used to, but it was clean, stable, and real. I stayed where I was in the hallway facing him. I didn't move forward. He didn't either. "She's gone," he said again. "Vanessa. She drugged me the night before we were supposed to fly out. Said it was melatonin. I woke up 12 hours later. She was gone, took everything, my personal account, the cash we'd kept in the condo, jewelry, watch collection, everything." He paused. "Even the prenup. She swapped it. The version I signed was worthless. My lawyers said it's airtight. They laughed. There's nothing left to claw back." His voice cracked a little on the last word. I didn't speak. I waited. He looked at me like he was hoping I'd break the silence. When I didn't, he stepped closer. "I didn't know. I thought she loved me." I cut him off, slow and quiet. "You thought I shouldn't be seen." He froze. That call, I said. That's when you gave everything up. Not when she left. Not when the money disappeared. When you told me my presence would make people uncomfortable. That's the moment you lost. He took another step, then stopped. I was wrong, he said. I know that now. I nodded. Yes, you do. But I'm not fixing it. I spent my life building things so you wouldn't have to crawl. And the second it got inconvenient, you cut me out of the photo. He reached into his pocket like he was going to offer something. Then he realized he had nothing. Not keys, not documents, not leverage, just empty hands. Please, he said. I need help. Anything. A job, a place to stay, just until I figure out what's next. Claire stood behind him, arms crossed, silent. I looked at her, then back at him. Everything I built, I said slowly. I left to the one who never asked me to disappear. Then I turned my chair and rolled back into the hallway. Leave the key when you go. He stood there for a long moment. I could feel it. Not moving, not breathing, just absorbing the blow. Claire closed the door behind him. That night, she didn't say much, just made us both tea and turned on the news, but I could see the tension in her jaw. She wasn't proud of the moment. She wasn't celebrating. She was just relieved it was over. But it wasn't, not entirely. 3 nights later, while she was cleaning the blender, I spoke. Call him. She looked up. Are you sure? I nodded. He's still my son. And I won't let mine go to her grave thinking she raised a boy who sleeps on the street. Claire didn't argue. She found his number, dialed, handed me the phone when it rang. He answered on the second ring. Hello? His voice was smaller this time, raw. You can come back, I said. There's no offer, no title, just a place to sleep and food if you help clean. I won't give you what I gave her, but I won't let you fall all the way through the floor. He didn't speak right away. Then, okay, that was it. No, thank you. No apology yet, just the beginning of something quieter. He showed up the next day with a backpack and a cardboard box. Claire didn't say much, just pointed to the laundry room. It's got a cot. You'll have to fold it back every morning. He nodded. No argument. He put his things down, changed into clean clothes, and asked if there was a schedule he could follow. That night, he washed the dinner dishes, took out the trash, didn't speak unless spoken to. The next morning, he made coffee before anyone woke up. By the 3rd day, he was walking Claire's files to the mailbox without being asked. By the end of the week, he was helping me get into bed without fumbling. He didn't complain, didn't ask about the businesses, didn't touch the laptop in the living room. And when he got a text from a former investor asking if he was still involved, he replied, I'm stepping back. My sister's in charge now. Claire saw it on his phone by accident and didn't say anything. But I saw the way her shoulders softened that night. Something in the house had shifted. Not completely, but enough. He didn't talk much those first few weeks, just did what needed doing without being asked. He folded towels, swept floors, took out the trash before Claire had to remind him, and when he cooked, quietly, always simple, he portioned things the way Claire preferred without making a point of it. He had changed. Not loudly, not in a way that demanded acknowledgement, but in the way someone does when they know the begging part is over and all that's left is whether they stay useful enough to be allowed to keep breathing in someone else's space. Claire never smiled at him. Not really. But she didn't flinch when she passed him in the hallway anymore. And when he fixed the broken latch on the bathroom cabinet without being told, she left him half a sandwich in the fridge with a post-it that just said, eat. That was the first word she'd written to him since the wedding. He didn't answer, just ate it quietly and washed the plate. Every morning he pulled out the cot in the laundry room, folded it back after he woke up, and swept around it so no one had to walk through dust. He didn't ask for Wi-Fi access. He didn't touch the business mail. He didn't question why Claire was signing checks or why her name was on the letterhead. When boxes came in from the logistics firm or the property management offices, he lifted them to the kitchen without opening them. He was learning, slowly, what silence could do. Margaret never gave him back the keys, never handed him files, never invited him into meetings. But she let him help her into the shower chair without snapping. She let him hold her arm when Claire was out. She let him walk beside her when she needed air. And the first time he handed her a water glass without spilling, she said, Good. Just one word. That night, he sat in the kitchen alone and stared at an old Excel file he had printed out weeks earlier. It was out of date. He knew that. But he just wanted to see the numbers. Claire found him there and paused in the doorway. He looked up but didn't defend himself. "I'm not trying to get anything," he said. "I just miss being good at something." Claire didn't say anything. Just turned the light off behind her and left the door open. That was the only permission he got. And it was enough. He kept to his lane, didn't post online, didn't text anyone about being back. The people who mattered already knew, and the ones who didn't weren't owed anything. One day, a former partner of Ethan's reached out to Margaret directly, said he heard Ethan was back in the game, and asked if he could schedule a call. Margaret replied with one sentence: "Ethan is not involved in business operations." No explanation, no emotion, just fact. That week, Ethan got an interview request from a podcast he used to guest on. He turned it down, said he was focusing on family. The host didn't follow up. Vanessa had vanished entirely. No posts, no press, no trace of her or the man she ran off with. Ethan never mentioned her, never cursed her out loud. But I saw his face once when a news alert popped up about another influencer caught in a financial scam. He closed the screen without reading. Claire started letting him accompany her on errands, just small ones: post office, pharmacy. Once, the bank. He never went inside, just stayed in the car and waited. When she came out, she handed him a receipt and said, "Shred it." That was the first real instruction she'd given him since the shift. He shredded it, didn't ask what. It was, didn't keep a copy. That night, Margaret rolled into the living room and told Claire to bring the family ledger. Ethan was in the corner folding pillowcases. He paused, but didn't speak. Claire brought the book. Margaret didn't open it, just held it on her lap. For a moment, then looked at Ethan. "You broke something," she said. Her voice was flat but not cruel. "But you didn't walk away. That counts for something." Ethan didn't try to explain. He just nodded. "I didn't expect this," he said quietly. "Good," Margaret replied, "because it's not a gift. It's just a seat at the table." She turned to Claire. "He can stay, not forever, but as long as he keeps showing up." Claire didn't look at him, just nodded. That night, when Ethan went to the laundry room, he found a second pillow on his cot. No note, no explanation, just a quiet sign that he wasn't temporary anymore. Not family in the way he wanted, but not discarded either. The cot was still stiff. The room still smelled like detergent, but it was his, and that was more than he expected. The next morning, he asked if there was anything else that needed fixing. Claire told him the balcony light was out. He got the ladder, didn't ask for help. Margaret watched from the hallway, hands in her lap, face unreadable. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. The business ran fine without Ethan. Claire had taken over everything without needing applause, and once the dust settled, even the most skeptical partners stopped asking for his name on the line. They started calling her directly, first with cautious questions, then with real trust. She adjusted logistics routes, renegotiated leases, replaced 2 underperforming managers, and increased net profit in the first quarter by 15%. I watched all of it from the kitchen, quiet, tracking the numbers in my head, proud but not surprised. She didn't do it for credit. She did it because there was work to be done, and she was tired of watching other people fumble it. Ethan stayed. In the laundry room without complaint. He swept, mopped, fixed cabinet doors, rewired the lamp I liked next to the couch, and folded my cardigans with more care than I expected. He didn't touch my laptop, didn't ask for meeting notes, never once hinted at wanting back in. When the CFO sent a quarterly summary and accidentally copied Ethan on the email, Claire didn't flinch. She just forwarded it to me with a one-line note. He didn't reply. I nodded to myself. Good. He knew where he stood. One night after dinner, I asked Claire to bring both of them into the living room. Ethan sat at the far end, unsure if he was supposed to be there. Claire didn't sit. She stood near the window, arms folded, watching me carefully. I looked at them both and said, "This is not a family meeting. This is a line in the sand." Ethan tensed. I continued, "You're staying here, not because I owe you anything, but because I still believe people can earn their way back to decency. You lost your seat at the table. But you didn't walk away from the wreckage. That counts for something. I turned to Claire. You didn't ask for power. You just picked it up when it was dropped. You didn't chase a title. You handled responsibility. She didn't say anything, just nodded once. I turned back to Ethan. Nothing is changing on paper. You're not getting a company. You're not getting a position. But you're not on the outside anymore either. He didn't argue, didn't cry, just nodded with that same quiet he'd been wearing like armor for months. Thank you, he said. I believed it. Not because of the words, but because of how long he waited to say them. That night, I rolled down the hallway and stopped at the laundry room. The cot was folded. The floor was clean. The pillow I gave him was still on the shelf, neatly fluffed. I didn't say anything, just looked around and rolled back out. The next morning, Claire had a board call at 9 a.m. Ethan brought her coffee at 8:45 and left it on her desk without speaking. She gave him a small nod. That was the new rhythm. No big gestures, no forgiveness ceremony, just routine, stability, trust rebuilt piece by piece. Months passed. Ethan never moved out. He never asked to. He stayed in that laundry room like it was a monastery, clean, quiet, humble, and I let him. One day when I was going through my mother's old recipes, I found a note tucked in between two yellowed pages. It was in her handwriting. It said, "Leave something behind for the child who showed up when you didn't ask." I smiled and tucked it into a folder marked Claire. It wasn't revenge, it wasn't favoritism, it was just the truth. She showed up, she stayed, she never needed to be right, she just refused to let go. And in the end, that's who should inherit the world, not the loudest, not the most charming, not the one with the perfect Instagram photos, but the one who stayed when it was ugly, the one who kept folding towels while no one said thank you, the one who never once made me feel like a burden. I left her everything, not because I loved her more, but because she never asked me to disappear. That's it for today. What would you have done in her place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading what you all think. And hey, if this story hit you, check out these videos too. You won't want to miss them.